Save the Kales is sponsored in part by Cartridge World Phillipsburg, saving time, money, and the planet, and by Jenny's Kuwali, authentic Malaysian cuisine.
This next dish is a kale and quinoa salad, and I usually make some variation of this like once a week, and then I have enough food for about 4 or 5 lunches. So this is a really great item, and it's inexpensive and healthy. So to get started, we're gonna cook some quinoa, and one thing you can do if you want to, this is optional, is toast your quinoa first. So you can put it inside of a pan like this without anything on the bottom, and just put it under a low heat and kind of toss it around a little bit like that, and that just kind of gives it more of a smokier, nuttier flavor. So once you have your quinoa toasted or not, you can cook it using 1 part uncooked quinoa to 2 parts water. It's kind of like cooking rice, and you end up with a great big amount of it like this. So we're going to set that aside while we get the kale ready. And every time I use vegetables or make any kind of thing with the salad, I just use all of the amount of vegetables that I'm given, and that way I know they're not going to waste, and you get more nutrition. So get a big bunch of kale and just use as much as you have. And you can tear it apart with your hands. I'm going to try and make the pieces a little smaller, so I'm going to give them a rough chop with a knife. Right now we're going to make the dressing. So get a small bowl and your measuring spoons, and we're going to use 2 teaspoons of olive oil. Okay, 1 tablespoon of Bragg's. I love this stuff. We're going to use the juice of half of a lemon. Use a teaspoon of liquid sweetener and 1 clove of garlic grated. This is a really great dressing, and I feel like you can use it really on anything. If you're marinating vegetables and then you want to throw them on the grill or just use it as some kind of a salad dressing, it's super simple, just 5 ingredients that I know I usually have on hand, and it's very flavorful. So we're mixing that up, and we're just going to, for now, use a little of it, maybe 1/3 of it, and pour that on top of the bowl of kale. And what this will do is we're going to get in there and use our hands to massage that into the kale, which is going to do 2 things. It's going to break the kale down a little bit so it's not as tough, and it's also going to season it really well. If we just poured it on top and kind of like tossed it around like we do with lettuce, the kale would still be kind of tough and bitter and not as flavorful as it could be. But what we're doing now is just really getting that flavor into all of the leaves. Okay, so you can see the amount of kale has shrunk a little bit. So now we have some room for our quinoa, so we'll put some of that in there. And now we're just going to chop a few fresh vegetables to make our salad more colorful and a little more tasty. So these are those little bags of sweet peppers you can find a lot of times at the grocery store, and they have like red, orange, and yellow, and they're really good. If you're somebody who doesn't like raw green peppers, these taste very different. Green peppers are kind of bitter when they're raw, but these sweet peppers are they're like candy. They're so good. And we'll cut a bunch and just toss them into the bowl. And for a little bit of extra color, I'm just gonna put some carrot in there too, and I'm just using a vegetable peeler. I peeled off the outside of the carrot first, and now I'm just going to make these long skinny strips to go in there, which is kind of a fun, texture and makes it look pretty. But now I'm going to take that salad back and add the rest of the dressing and mix everything together. Woo, look at all the colors. That's always my favorite part. If your food looks pretty, you're going to be more inclined to eat it. And as you can see, this makes a huge amount of food, and it's all really healthy stuff. So I'll kind of divvy this up in some containers, and then I have a lunch ready to go every day. So let me just transfer this to a nicer bowl. Very budget-friendly dish, very healthy dish. And then if you want, you can throw all kinds of things on top. As I said before, you can use a toasted coconut, or these are some little things I got from the Indian market. They're like little crunchy things, and that kind of gives a nice texture as well. put some hot peppers on there, but that is it. And so this is just a really great everyday quinoa and kale salad. Okay, for the next salad, this is going to be a lentil-based salad with some fresh greens. I'm choosing to use watercress just because it's something that is a little unusual. I don't use it all the time, so this is a good opportunity. So start with about 2 to 3 cups of cooked lentils. A good ratio for that is 1 cup of dry lentils to about 2.5 cups of water. And you can salt the water, you can also cook them in broth, and you get this much left. So I'm gonna put them in a big mixing bowl. And lentils are one of my very favorite foods because they are so cheap and they cook up in about 20 minutes instead of a lot of dried beans take a really long time, sometimes several hours, but these are nice and quick. And to that, I'm going to add, this is about a cup of roasted cherry tomatoes. I just cut them in half and roasted them in the oven at 350 degrees for about a half an hour. You could use sun-dried tomatoes, that would taste great. Here I have some fresh basil leaves, and I'm gonna just chop them up. And this is gonna be about 2 to 3 tablespoons of fresh basil chopped up. And what's great about salads like these, and I feel like I make bean salads all the time, that's definitely a staple food for me, is that you can just switch stuff out according to what you have on hand. So if you don't like, lentils, use cannellini beans or chickpeas or something like that, and the salad's still gonna taste delicious. So now I have 1/2 of a chopped small white onion, and we'll get those greens. And watercress is kind of like a peppery green. The leaves are a little spicy, I guess you'd say. But you can also substitute baby spinach, or you can leave the greens out of the dish altogether, and when you're finished making everything, just stick it on top of a salad. This is a really great opportunity to play around with some greens that you don't typically use. So you can try like dandelion greens or mustard greens in a salad like this. And the last thing we're gonna add to this before we make our dressing are some walnuts. And again, you can use any kind of nut of your choice if you'd like. And this just gives it some texture, a little bit of crunchy texture. Okay. So let me just toss everything together. And we're gonna make a very simple dressing, and the dressing that we're gonna make is gonna be kind of reminiscent of the dressing we made in the previous salad with a few little changes. It's going to have a balsamic vinegar base. Okay, now everything is mixed together so our dressing will coat that very well. So let's get a little bowl, and we'll start with some olive oil as the base. We're gonna use 3 tablespoons. And this is going to be a balsamic Dijon dressing, so 2 tablespoons of a balsamic vinegar. And we're gonna add 1 tablespoon of Bragg's. And now 1 or 2 teaspoons of Dijon mustard. I like it, so I'm gonna add about 2. And 1 or 2 cloves of fresh grated garlic. We'll mix all of that together. All right, and just pour that on top, and that's how easy this is. Once again, we have a wonderful, nutritious, inexpensive salad to make that makes this huge amount of food. And you can put this on top of a rice or a grain, or again, just stick it on top of a big green salad. It already has the dressing on there. It smells so good. All right, let me transfer this to another bowl so you can get a good look at it. This kitchen smells great right now, you guys. So there you have it, a lentil and watercress salad.